Okay, so today we have a very special deck tech for a new commander out of Dominaria United. And some people might even say that this is the greatest commander deck ever, if those people are me. This is Hazezon, Shaper of Sand. Now you may be wondering, why would this be the greatest commander deck ever? Well, let's read the card, shall we? So it costs 3 mana, red, white, and green. It's a legendary creature, human warrior, a 3/3. It has Desert Walk, so it can't be blocked if defending player controls a desert. That's cool, but chances are the opponent isn't really going to have a desert, right? However, you can play desert lands from your graveyard, and whenever a desert enters the battlefield under your control, you create two 1/1 red, green, and white Sand Warrior creature tokens. Well, you know what card is a desert, right? Something that I have somewhat of a connection with. This card right here, Hashep Oasis. So naturally, this has to be the greatest commander deck ever, to me anyway. So this is going to go with our Hashep Oasis box, and to make it even more special, I've got some custom sleeves sent to me by Dragon Shield just for this deck. So I had these specially made to put on this commander deck. If you're interested in possibly getting these sleeves for yourself, you can get them. You can't just go to Dragon Shield and buy them though, you have to use their sleeved crafter. But you can make these sleeves through their sleeve crafter. If you're interested in this design, you can contact me on Discord or on YouTube or anything, and I'll send you the image files that you can use to make these sleeves. So we're going to take a look at this deck now. So, memes aside, the deserts and whatnot, this is actually a really good card. So what this is basically a Naya landfall / tokens deck. And those two themes, especially in Naya colors, are themes that have a lot of support traditionally, so we're working with a lot of good cards here. So we're going to start off with the 1-drops. I'm going to put this hash up right up there. Elvish Reclaimer. This one is quite good for landfall. It gets +2/+2, don't really care about that part, but so for 1 mana you get a 1/2, but you can pay 2, tap this and sacrifice a land. Search your library for a land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So this will allow us to get any land, probably a desert. One of the main concerns with this deck that I've seen people talk about is that they think there aren't really enough deserts to make it work. However, since this card allows you to play deserts out of your graveyard, and the thing with deserts is that they sacrifice themselves in other deserts, you really only need one desert in play to actually get this to work, because you can just put it in the graveyard by sacrificing it to itself or some other effect, maybe something like this, and then just keep on replaying that one desert using this ability. Here's a card right here that will allow us to sacrifice deserts, Sylvan Safekeeper. This card is really good in this deck, I think. So 1 mana, 1/1. Sacrifice a land, target creature you control gains Shroud until end of turn. So this is a way for us to just sacrifice lands at will, but it can also be really good at protecting our creatures. Got a Sakura Tribe Elder. We're playing green and we're playing Commander, so probably we want to be playing this card. So we are. Gala Greeters. This is a cool one for not really a landfall theme, but this is for the token theme part of the deck. So whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that has been chosen this turn, put a 1/1 counter on Gala Greeters, create a tapped treasure token, or you gain 2 life. So every time we play Desert, we're going to be getting 2 tokens, so that'll trigger this twice. Seems pretty good. Got a Scute Swarm. Super popular landfall card. This can kind of run away with the game, and yeah, we're definitely playing it in this deck. Welcoming Vampire. This is just a really good card advantage engine. The tokens that we make are 1/1s, so that would trigger this, and we could draw an extra card each turn. Seems pretty decent. And also, just before we go any further, if you'd like to purchase any of the cards shown in this video, you can get those by heading on over to the sponsor of this channel, Face to Face Games. Use code 8thPlaceDave to save 5% on your order at Face to Face Games, Canada's largest Magic the Gathering store, where qualified orders receive free shipping Canada-wide. There's a Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. I think this card is pretty cool. So tokens you control have tap, add a green. You can choose a background, but we're not using that part of it. Notably, it says tokens, not necessarily creature tokens. So that's kind of cool with treasures too, actually, because you can just tap those for a green and you don't have to sacrifice them. So this to me seems like a really good ramp card in token decks. There's Tireless Provisioner here. This is another card that kind of combines the token and landfall themes, so it does have landfall, the actual keyword landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you can create a food or a treasure token. So far, I've made a treasure token every time, but if you need to gain some life, food could be useful as well. Azusa is very good for landfall because it allows us to play 2 extra lands each turn, so we're definitely playing it here. We've got a Dryad of the Elysian Grove for similar reasons, allows us to play extra lands. We want a lot of those kinds of effects, the extra land effects, to really maximize getting the tokens from Hazezon here. Also, lands you control are every basic land type in addition to their other types, so you can get some good mana fixing there. Augur of Autumn. This one doesn't allow us to play extra lands, but it does allow us to play lands off the top of our library, or potentially, even creature spells as well. But this card is still quite good, I think, so we're definitely trying it out in here at least. Genie Fae, I like this card a lot. So this one will allow us to create a 2/2 green cat or a 3/1 dog with vigilance anytime we would create a token. So basically this can allow us to basically swap out our 1/1 Sand Warriors for a 2/2 cat with haste or a 3/1 dog with vigilance. That seems pretty good to me, and also it just says if a token would be created, so once again, if we make a treasure or something, it doesn't have to be a creature token, we can just make one of these instead. Some pretty decent tokens out of that. This card is really cool, I think, in this deck. Living Twister, one you don't see necessarily a whole lot, but I think this deck is quite good for it. So 3 mana, 2/5. You can block some pretty good stuff there. But anyway, you can pay 1 and a red and discard a land, and this does 2 damage to any target. So this is a repeatable removal on a creature, which is always good, right? And you can also pay a green and return a tapped land you control to its owner's hand. So this is another way to get some extra landfall triggers out of our deserts, and also a way to put our deserts into our graveyard from our hand so that we can get some more value out of Hazezon by just playing them out of the graveyard. Got an Oracle of Moldiah for basically the same reason as Azusa and Dryad and all those kinds of things. We can play extra lands, play lands off the top of our library. Mina and Den, same thing, can play extra lands, but this is another card that allows us to basically reuse our lands that we already have. We can return a land we control to our owner's hand, and a creature gains trample until end of turn, so that could definitely be useful. This is a new card here, well, fairly new anyway, out of New Capenna. Rose Room Treasurer, so 4 mana, 4/3, has the Alliance ability. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token if this is the first or second time this ability is resolved this turn. Otherwise, you can pay X. When you do, Rose Room Treasurer deals X damage to any target. So this serves quite a few purposes, actually, because, once again, this is a token deck, so playing just 1 desert will get us 2 triggers from this, because we'll get 2 creatures from Hazezon. We would get a treasure token each time for that. Then if we get another trigger from this, though, we can just pay X and do damage to anything. So, creature removal, player removal, whatever we want. Got Jetmir here. This card is actually one that has kind of grown on me. So when I saw this, I thought, that's good. Seems pretty decent for go-wide decks. But then I actually got to play with it, and it feels a lot like Crater Hoof almost. The thing is, though, you need a lot of creatures to get the full use out of this. But if you have 9 or more creatures in play, which isn't necessarily so hard with a go-wide deck like this, creatures you control will essentially get +3/+0 Vigilance, Trample, and Double Strike. So it kind of feels like Crater Hoof in the way that where you play this and then you just attack and win no matter how your opponents block. Toski here, great for go-wide decks, or this is one that I would play in pretty much any deck that has green almost. Can't be countered, indestructible. Taxi's combat if able, but whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So this is really good card advantage here. Here's a Titania. This is one that will allow us to take advantage of putting lands in the graveyard. When Titania enters the battlefield, return a land from your graveyard to the battlefield. Whenever a land you control is put into the graveyard from the battlefield, you make a 5/3 green elemental creature token. So we can get a lot of value out of this card because not only from the desert sacrificing themselves, but we have some other ways in the deck to really make use of putting lands in the graveyard. There's a Morog, Fury of a Comb. So this one is blurry. There we go. This one is just another card that helps us close out the game with the landfall triggers, get lots of extra attack steps. It's a very powerful card here. Ancient Green Warden. So this one, you can play lands from your graveyard. That's actually not the reason that I'm playing this, though. The reason that I'm playing it is, well, it also has reach, but also, if a land entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So that would basically mean whenever we play a desert, we get 4 Sand Warriors instead of 2. But then also other creatures with, with landfall, that'll help with those as well. This is kind of similar to another card, a Ramanap Excavator, which is one that I've seen in lists similar to this. But I decided not to put Ramanap Excavator in this deck simply because it seems redundant to me. Because our commander itself allows us to play deserts from the graveyard. Ramanap Excavator says you can play lands from your graveyard, but really the lands that we care about playing from our graveyard are going to be deserts anyway. So I feel like having that in play alongside Hazezon probably wouldn't really give us much extra value. But this one I'm playing for doubling up landfall triggers. Landfall triggers like this on Rampaging Baloths. You see this card printed so many times on Commander Precons and stuff, but it is a very powerful card, right? It's a 6/6 for 6 with Trample, but whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you make a 4/4 Beast token. So, that's a lot of value to be getting every time you play a land. Here's another new card that I think is pretty cool. Fabine, Boss's Confidant. So 6 mana. Creature tokens you control have haste. Good for a token deck like this one. Also has the Parlay ability. At the beginning of combat on your turn, each player reveals the top card of the library. For each land revealed this way, you make a 1/1 green and white citizen creature token. Then creatures you control get +1/+1 till end of turn for each non-land revealed this way, and then each player draws a card. So this is a way to help us get extra tokens, but also it's another one of those kind of like overrun effects, a little bit similar to like Jetmir or Crater Hoof, where our things can get a really big boost. Kogla here, this is another card that I tend to put in pretty much every green deck that I make, because it does so much in just one card. So it's a 7/6 for 6, so it's an undercosted beater. When it enters the battlefield, it fights up to one target creature you don't control, so it's a removal on a creature. When it attacks, destroy target artifact or enchantment defending player controls, so it's also artifact and enchantment removal on a creature. You also pay 1 and a green to return a human you control to its owner's hand and give this indestructible until end of turn. Usually that doesn't really matter so much, but in this deck our commander is actually human, so it could be relevant. Another green card you see in a lot of commander decks, Avenger of Zendikar. If we're playing a token deck, we're playing this. This is tokens and landfall. Avenger of Zendikar is perfect for that, so yeah, we're definitely playing it here. Similar with Omnath here. Very popular landfall card. We can get a lot of 5/5 elementals from this, do some damage. It's a pretty good top end here. And then this card goes kind of hand in hand with Avenger of Zendikar. Crater Hoof Behemoth. Got the fun version of it right here. But, just a great way to top out the curve of your deck and just end games when you play it. So these are all the creatures. We're going to make some room here and then move on to some enchantments. There's some pretty cool inclusions in here, I think. So right here, Impact Tremors. This one is quite good for token decks. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it does 1 damage to each opponent. It's very good that's each and not target, so you can just get all your opponents at once. And similar to that, we've also got Perforos, which does the same thing, except it does 2 damage instead of 1. And, it's also indestructible, can be a 6/5 creature, and has this activated ability to give your creatures +1/+0 till end of turn. Good in go-wide decks. Some other ways here to play extra lands. Like I said before, we want pretty much as many of these effects as we can get. There's a couple that I'm not playing, like Explore. I'm not playing that, because it's a fine card, but something like this I think is much better. Very simple, 1 mana enchantment, you can play an additional land on each of your turns. So the reason why these effects are so good in this deck in particular is because our commander lets us play lands out of our graveyard, and the thing with deserts is they sacrifice themselves, so being able to play additional lands combined with those is a very powerful effect. Beastmaster Ascension, good way to get a giant boost for your creatures, good for go-wide decks. Doubling Season, we're playing a token deck, so we're playing this. 2 cards I'm not playing in this deck are very similar to this. There's Anointed Procession and Parallel Lives. Those would work quite well in this deck, but the reason I don't have them is because I don't have them. I just don't own any copies. Both of those cards to me seem like ones that are very much due for a reprint, so I'm just holding off on getting those for now, but yeah, those would definitely work well in this deck. Got a Felidar Retreat here. Very good landfall card. We can either get a 2/2 white cat beast creature, or put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control, give them Vigilant to end a turn. Both of these are good effects. I find that putting the 1/1 counter, that's just such a big effect to have for just a landfall. It's very easy to trigger. This is a very powerful enchantment. Intangible Virtue, great for tokens, right? Tokens we control get +1/+1 and have Vigilance, so that's pretty good for just 2 mana, I think. Here's a card that is a little bit spicy, I think. It's one that I just picked out because I liked it, not necessarily because I saw it in other lists, but I think it's pretty cool. Aura Fracture, so this is a 3 mana enchantment. You can sacrifice a land to destroy target enchantment, so like I've said before, our commander lets us play lands out of our graveyard, so sacrificing a land is a very easy cost for us to play. So not only does this allow us to just destroy basically every enchantment we want, it's another way for us to put lands into our graveyard at will, basically, and be able to replay our deserts and get extra value out of the landfall trigger from Hazezon. There's Divine Visitation, good way to turn all of our 1/1 Sand Warriors into 4/4 Angels with Flying and Vigilance. Cathar's Crusade, we gotta have this in here, right? Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we put a 1/1 counter on each creature we control, so this gets out of control super easily. You can get a massive amount of counters on your creatures. Those are the enchantments. We got some artifacts as well. Not a whole lot of artifact ramp, actually not very much at all, seeing as we're playing green, so we're just playing land ramp instead, but we do have Soul Ring, because we're playing Commander, so we're playing Soul Ring, right? Eldrazi Monument, great for go-wide decks. Creatures we control get +1/+1, have Flying and Indestructible. We have to sacrifice a creature at the beginning of our upkeep, or sacrifice this, but that is a very easy cost to pay in a go-wide deck, so this card is very good in this deck. Idol of Oblivion, this is somewhat one of my pet cards. I think this is just really good. So 2 mana, you can tap it to draw a card. Activate only if you made a token this turn, but in a token deck, that's basically every turn. So, this is just basically a 2 mana artifact that lets us draw an extra card each turn, which is quite good. It also has this other ability, you can sack it to make it 10/10 Eldrazi. I've never done that, but the option is there. It's always good to have options, right? Halo Fountain, what does this card do? You tap it and untap, tap. Yeah, it's, you can win the game with this. Good for go-wide decks once again. Make some tokens, draw some cards. That's kind of perfect for this deck. So as you can see, not a whole lot of artifacts, but once again, that's because we don't really need artifact ramp. Here's our ramp. We've got 3 visits, Nature's Lore, Sylvan Scrying, good to get any land, get our deserts. Farseek, Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. These are kind of traditional ones. Sylvan Scrying, maybe not so much, but this is played in a lot of decks. Some kind of non-traditional ones, though. Nahiri's Lithoforming. Very good card for this deck. So you sacrifice X lands for each land sacrificed this way. You draw a card, then you can play X additional lands this turn. Lands you control enter the battlefield, tap this turn. So the thing is, if we have some deserts in play, we can just sacrifice those. Even if we don't draw any lands to replay from the cards we draw from this, we can just still play them out of our graveyard, right? It doesn't say to play the lands you draw, it just says you can play X additional lands this turn. So this card seems kind of perfect for this deck, actually. It's very similar to another card we're going to get to in just a moment. Hour of Promise, this is kind of like the desert ramp card. There's kind of a deck almost built around this in Standard, but search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. Then if you control 3 or more deserts, you make 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. We're probably going to have 3 deserts, so getting 2 lands and some zombies, that's quite good. And notably, search your library for any 2 lands, not necessarily basics. So any effect like that in this deck where you get to search for any land is quite good. Something just like this. Nihilee's Intervention, we can search the library for up to X land cards, put them into our hand, shuffle our library, or do twice X damage to each creature with flying. The reason we're playing this is for the first ability, but once again, it's good to have options. Here's the card I was talking about that is similar to Nahiri's Lithoforming, Scapeshift. I'm sure a lot of people are very familiar with this because this is, been a modern deck for a long time. Sacrifice any number of lands, search your library for up to that many land cards, put them onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. So once again, this is a good way to basically exchange all of our lands for deserts, and we'll get the landfall trigger from Hazezon every time we play a desert. So Scape Shift is a way to kind of close out the game in this deck because you'll just get so many landfall triggers from it. Got crop rotation here. This is a very cheap way to get a desert into play. Because like I said before, you really only need one desert to get the engine going, and this is a 1-mana way to do that at instant speed. So it seems quite good. Realms Uncharted is another one that's very cool, I think. It's like Gifts Ungiven, but for lands. So 3-mana instant, search your library for 4 land cards with different names, reveal them. An opponent chooses 2 of those cards, puts the chosen cards into your graveyard, and the rest into your hand, then shuffle your library. Well, we could just grab 4 deserts, and that they might as well all be in our hand, because we can play them out of the graveyard anyway, so this card is once again kind of perfect for this deck. Here's another one that I think is kind of cool for this deck. Constant Mists is an old card here. It's basically just a fog effect, 2-mana instant. Creatures deal no combat damage this turn, but it has buyback, and the buyback cost is just sacrifice a land. So this is a way, like, we can just play this infinitely, right? Because we'll be able to just keep on replaying our lands out of our graveyard. This is just another way for us to get deserts into the graveyard so we can start replaying them. So quite a lot of ramp here, but you always want ramp in Commander. Got a bit of removal too. Swords to Plowshares, nice and simple removal. Dromoka's Command, I like this card a lot actually in green-white decks because it serves multiple purposes. You can prevent all damage an instant or sorcerer would deal this turn. That can be very relevant, like you could basically counter a Blasphemous Act or something like that. Usually the modes that I use this for though are target player sacrifices an enchantment, so we've got enchantment removal, and also a target creature you control fights creature you don't control, so creature removal as well. And you can also put a 1/1 counter on a creature. But I like this because it's just very flexible and it serves multiple purposes. Quite similar to Rip Apart. This is another one I think is very good. The only things really that are holding this card back are the color restrictions as well as the fact that it's a sorcery. But otherwise, this is basically just a straight up better Abrade, because Abrade deals 3 damage to a creature or destroys an artifact, and Abrade is very popular in Commander, but this does 5 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and it also destroys an artifact or an enchantment, but then once again you get the trade-off for having the color restriction and being a sorcery instead of an instant. Got Beast Within as a removal for anything. Frozen Grip, I like this as just catch-all artifact or enchantment removal. Can't really be interacted with. It can be, but only in very corner cases, but it's basically uncounterable. A couple of Wraths. I've chosen this one. This wasn't my first choice actually, but this is one that kind of has grown on me. Initially, I wanted to play Farewell in this slot, because, it's a Wrath that can exile artifacts, enchantments, graveyards, those kinds of things. But I didn't have an extra copy to put in this deck, so I grabbed this instead. And then I was kind of thinking about it more, and this actually seems really good in this deck. So choose a number between 0 and 13. Each player sacrifices that many creatures. And since this is a go-wide token deck, being able to manipulate this number as we see fit can be very powerful. I've kind of envisioned this working a lot of times as basically a Wrath that only destroys our opponent's creatures, because say we have 10 creatures in play and our opponents have 4 or 5, well, we just choose 4 or 5, we sack some of our 1/1 tokens, keep our good stuff, and that seems pretty good for 5 mana to me. Also got to Vanquish the Horde. It's basically like Blasphemous Act, except for white. But yeah, once again, it's a very good Wrath. We're going to move on to the lands now. So, in a landfall deck, lands are going to be pretty important. Start off with just some of the colored lands, though. So, these ones will produce basically any color. We got Path of Ancestry. Not necessarily taking advantage of the tribal synergy with this so much, but it provides any color, and also we can basically just scry whenever we cast our commander. We do have some humans in here, probably some warriors as well, so it's a good card. New card here, Plaza of Heroes. This is a new one that goes in. It can go in, I believe, any commander deck and be quite good, but we're playing it in here, and I'm sure it is going to be quite good. City of Brass, Command Tower, Jetmir's Garden, Exotic Orchard, and Mana Confluence all produce basically any color, any of the colors that we need. Got some fetch lands here. Fabled Passage, can fetch for a basic. Got Arid Mesa, Wooded Foothills, and Wimsut Heath. The on-color fetches. We also have the on-color shocks here. Got a Yavimaya. Can be quite good because we are playing 3 colors, so there is the chance we could be color screwed. Well, this can turn everything into forests for us. The Spire Garden. This is the only one of these of this land cycle that I've included in here. I did have more, but we need to have room to fit some deserts in here, right? So we've got to cut some lands that are going to be good. So I've got one of them anyway. Now some utility lands. Field of the Dead. Many of you know how powerful and popular this card is. I believe it was banned in Standard and Pioneer or something like that. It was banned in some formats, but not banned in Commander. So yes, this card is very powerful. We're playing it here. In our desert deck, we have an actual desert. It's just straight up desert. And in case you're wondering, yes, this does count as a desert. This is the original Arabian Nights version. It doesn't say desert here, but it has been errated to include it. Tap to add 1 colorless mana to your mana pool, or do 1 damage to an attacking creature after it deals its damage. So it's a desert, comes into play untapped, and it could have some utility. But this desert in particular, this specific copy, is quite special because this is one that was given to me by another Magic YouTuber known as MTG Open Mic, and we did a collaboration together. The video is on my channel actually. It's called Did I Play a Land This Turn? And in that video, this specific card was featured, and then after we finished the video, he sent it to me, so it was a nice gift, and I'm quite happy to be able to play this in a deck that actually wants to be playing it. So now on to some more deserts. Sunscorched Desert. It's just a desert, comes into play untapped, does a damage to something. Dunes of the Dead. Actually can be quite good. When it's put into the graveyard from the battlefield, we make a 2/2 zombie. So this can be one where we can get a lot of value out of just repeatedly sacrificing it and replaying it out of the graveyard. Grasping Dunes. It seems kind of weak at first because you can sacrifice it to put a -1/-1 counter on something, but once again, since we can just keep on replaying this out of the graveyard, this is basically repeatable removal for small creatures on a land, and it is a very low cost. There's just 1 mana and tap this. Scavenger Grounds, Graveyard Hate. Actually, this is played in a lot of decks. Regardless of being a desert, it is just a good card. Usually it just sacrifices itself, but you can sacrifice any other desert. Hostile Desert. This is a creature land that is also a desert, so it could be useful. Now some actual colored mana producing deserts. This one taps for colorless, but we can also tap this and an untapped creature we control to get any color of mana. Kind of the same thing here. Pay 1, tap this, get any color mana. Now actual colored deserts. We got Desert of the... So the full cycle of these basically. Desert of the True, Desert of the Fervent, and Desert of the Indomitable. These are the tap land deserts that we can cycle. This is basically the Hashep Oasis cycle. So we have the Hashep Oasis itself, then we've got the other ones, Shefet Dunes, as well as Ramanap Ruins. Ramanap Ruins is a card I'm quite fond of because I play this as a 4 of in my Pioneer deck. I like playing this as a 4 of in a lot of decks actually, in competitive formats. And then we've just got some basic lands, and being from Dominaria, I've decided to go with the Dominaria Showcase lands to match with the theme. So 2 plains, 2 mountains, and 3 forests. Alright, so that is the deck. So we've got our Hashep Oasis, our Desert Commander, our Hashep Oasis sleeves, and our Hashep Oasis deck box. Needless to say, I'm very pleased with this. But as I said, even outside of the meme value for this deck, it's actually a very good deck, I think. This is kind of a surprisingly powerful commander. So I'd definitely be interested to hear your thoughts on the deck. Maybe you have some ideas for cards I could include, or maybe there's some cards that I did include that you think something else would work better instead. But regardless, let me know what you think and I'd be happy to read it. And once again, if you are interested in getting some of these sleeves for yourself, you can get those by following my affiliate link for Dragon Shield, and you can use their sleeve crafter to make these sleeves. I can provide you with the image files that you'll need. But anyway, if you're still watching, thanks for watching. It'd be cool if you can like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. I'd encourage everyone to come join my Discord server. You can find a link to that in the video description below. It's quite an active community and we have a lot of fun there. And I'd also just like to take a moment to thank all of the patrons who support me on Patreon. But otherwise though, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.